No matter who you are shopping for, whether it's your parents or your crazy uncle or your grouchy boss, I have book recommendations for everyone this holiday season. So hi, my name's Talia. I love books, I love bandanas. I'm so glad you're at my channel today because it is going to be a very fun video. I know that this is the season where all of us have to do a little bit of shopping. Whether you're celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah or any of the other holidays that happen this time of year, there's probably someone that you need to buy a gift for. So I am here to recommend books that I think would be good gifts for all of the special people in your life. Some of these recommendations will be based on personal experiences in my life, and some are just stereotypical family members. For example, I have a brother recommendation, but I don't even have a brother. So I'm hoping to kind of tackle all the realms of people you may or may not have in your life. So we'll start with our dad. This is a book that my dad actually gave to me to recommend to read. I read it and loved it, so I think it would be a perfect recommendation to give to your father. This is about a young man who goes from being a runner in the Olympics to a fighter pilot in World War II, to crashing in the ocean and surviving many months in the sea, to eventually becoming a prisoner of war. It is a story of resilience, an amazing story of survival, and one that will definitely encourage some conversations between you and your father this holiday season and for many years to come. Next, a recommendation for your mother. The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman is one that does not disappoint. This is about a group of senior citizens who meet every Thursday to try to solve cold cases that have happened in their community. This group gets even more exciting when a real murder happens in their retirement community, and they start working together with the local police to solve it. It is hilarious, laugh out loud funny. If your mother happens to like books about murder like mine does, this is definitely one that I recommend for her. Next, I have a book recommendation for your thrill-seeking brother. If your brother has any inkling to do high-risk activities, any sort of mountain climbing, skydiving, anything along that line, I encourage him to read Into Thin Air by Jon Krackaur. This book is about the 1996 disaster on Mount Everest, where 8 climbers lost their lives in one short span of time. It is one that is amazingly adventurous and amazingly sad, and one that might make your brother think twice about how far he's willing to push himself into his thrill-seeking adventures. My next recommendation is for your depressed sister. She should read Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. This is Jenny Lawson's first memoir. It is about her life growing up with her father, who is a taxidermy. So her house is surrounded with different types of no longer live animals who look real. And many of these animals are her friends and are active parts of her childhood. And it is hilariously laugh out loud funny. I had tears coming down my cheeks from laughing at one point in time, but it also tackles some of her struggles with her anxiety disorder and her depression and mental health. So it is a great book for anyone that's struggling with a little bit of those sort of things or just needs a laugh because it was an amazingly funny story. The next recommendation is for your best friend. Your best friend should read Jurassic Park. Everyone should read Jurassic Park. Come on, you remember back in the 90s watching Jurassic Park either on the big screen or in the comfort of your home and just thinking it was the most amazing movie ever. Remember how real the raptors looked? It was so great. Jurassic Park was based on a book, if you did not already know that, by Michael Crichton, who is an amazing science fiction writer. The story of Jurassic Park, as originally written by him, is so much better than the movie, and your best friend should definitely read it. Okay, my next recommendation is for your annoying roommate. You know you have them, they won't stay out of your hair, they're always doing annoying things and wanting to talk to you at random hours of the day or night, and you just want to sit back and do your own reading. Here's what you should give to them. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I don't recommend this because it's a terrible book. It is an amazing book, but it is very long. It is over 700 pages. It is an amazing adventure / fantasy story, and it will keep them engaged for a long time, so they will not be bothering you. There is also a sequel, which I have not read, but I plan to soon, and if they get into this book, then they'll want to read it as well. There is also a third installment of this book that is not out yet and has been rumored to be coming out for the past 10 years or so. So after they read the first two and they start being annoying again to you, you can tell them, hey, why don't you go research when the third installment of Patrick Rothfuss' book is coming out? And then they'll go and research and they'll leave you alone, okay? So honestly, this book is just amazing. Anyone should read it, but it'll also keep your annoying roommate busy for a period of time as well. My next recommendation is for your spouse who thinks they hate fiction. You know who I'm talking about. They roll their eyes at you anytime you're trying to talk to them about a book that is a made up waste of time. My spouse is not like that. He does not love fiction. He's not that mean about it, but he just does not love fiction. He prefers nonfiction real stories. I think that reading fiction is good for everyone and has so many benefits. And if you're trying to convince someone in your life of that, a great book to have them read is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. My husband has actually agreed to read this book as his first fiction book. This is about a story of 10 people who are trapped on an island and they start dying one by one. And there's no way to get on or off the island. It's in like the middle of this storm. So they're trying to figure out who among them is the killer. It's just a great mystery, an easy read, something fun to just break you into the realm of fiction and see how amazing it is. My next recommendation is for kids who are just starting to listen to chapter books. This is kind of the phase my children are in right now. We're tired of reading just the same picture books over and over and pushing them to listen to stories that are a little bit longer. So for this, I recommend the Mercy Watson series. Mercy is a pig who is treated by her owners as a human. She sits at the dining table with them. She eats toast with a great deal of butter on it, and she has adventures and gets into mischief. These are short chapter books. They have some pictures in them, and my children love them. They love reading them, but they also love listening to them as audiobooks when we are in the car, which is super fun because sometimes my kids like to play I Spy a lot when we're driving, and when they're listening to audiobooks, it gives me a little bit of a break to just drive in peace. So highly recommend that series to you. My next recommendation is for the overwhelmed parent in your life. I love this book, Paul David Tripp's Parenting, 14 Gospel Principles That Can Radically Change Your Family. After I read this book, I really had no need to read any other parenting books because it really tackles the big picture of who we are as parents, who our children are, and how our relationship with them should function. I love it so much. It drastically changed the way that I relate to and handle some of the less than pleasant moments with my children. So I highly recommend this to anyone who is struggling in the realm of parenting at this point in time. This next recommendation is for your cool aunt. You know you have that aunt that's cool, and it's been awesome growing up because she's not quite your mom, she's not quite your sister, she's somewhere in between, and you just love her. For your cool aunt, they should read Cinder by Melissa Meyer. This book is an awesome story loosely based on the story of Cinderella, except for Cinderella is a cyborg set in the future, and she's trying to help save the world from a crazy pandemic. And it is so good. I loved every minute of it, and I am sure that your cool aunt will too. Next, I have a book recommendation for your crazy uncle. You know who I'm talking about, that uncle that's a little crazy rowdy and you love him to death. I recommend the book of Awesome to your crazy uncle. This is a book that actually was found in my most recent trip I took to the coast. It was a book they had in the rental that I was staying in, and it was awesome. Every page had like a different little thing in your life, like that makes you go, oh yeah, that's really good. Like when you take all the laundry from the dryer, the washer to the dryer without dropping any. Random things like that. Just the little things in life that make you stop and go, awesome. And on every page it said, awesome at the bottom, and I just loved it. I thought it was hilarious, super entertaining, and your crazy uncle will as well. Next, I have a book for your friend who is struggling with their faith. This book by Francine Rivers, A Lineage of Grace, covers 5 women in the Bible from a historical fiction standpoint. So based on 5 women who really lived and walked and were important enough to be recorded in the Bible, but expands on what their walks may have been like, and really made me think about how, even though they are only mentioned a small little bit in the Bible, how their lives drastically impacted the future, like the future generations and the lineage of Christ, and how they impact our lives today. This book made me see the Old Testament in a totally new way. I loved it so much. Mainly, I would say this is directed toward female friends. Francine Rivers does have another book called Sons of Encouragement, which talks about which focuses on different men in the Bible. And I just think that one would probably be great as well for anyone who just wants to look at the Old Testament and really get a different view of some of your favorite or less well-known Bible characters. Next, let's talk about your quiet cousin. The cousin who's always kind of hanging out to himself at family gatherings, super nice, but you don't really know what's going on in his head. For this cousin, I recommend The High Mountains of Portugal by Yann Martel. Yann Martel wrote The Life of Pi, and I liked that book, but I actually liked this one even more. And it's funny because there's a love-hate relationship with this book going on Goodreads. If you look up the reviews, you will see half of the people are saying, I really have no idea what this book was about. And that is kind of how I felt reading it, but it did not stop my love for it. We have 3 different timelines, all centered on this town way up high in the mountains in Portugal. We have one man who is walking backwards all the time because he has experienced such a great amount of grief in his life, and he is trying to go seek a treasure that is rumored to be in this mountain. We have one man performing an autopsy, and some paranormal activity is going on. And we have another man who is who comes to be the guardian of this gorilla who also travels to this town in the high mountains of Portugal. So a very strange combination of timelines, but one that really makes you stop and think, and that I think your cousin would like to think about as well. Next, I have a recommendation for your impressionable middle grade niece. Amari and the Night Brothers is one that she should definitely read. This is my favorite middle grade book I read this year so far. It is about Amari, who is living with her mother. Her brother has gone missing. They do not have a lot of money, and she ends up joining this magic school and having all sorts of adventures along the way. This is a Men in Black meets Harry Potter adventure that teaches great lessons, and I know your middle grade niece is going to love it. Okay, my next recommendation is for your nerdy high school nephew. Your nephew should read Project Hail Mary. This is another one of my favorite books for the year. We have our main character who is a middle school teacher who wakes up on a spaceship with 2 dead crewmates shooting through the universe, and he has no recollection of how he got there. His memory starts to come back slowly, and he realizes that he is in fact on a mission to save the Earth. While this description sounds cheesy, this book is so well done. It makes you feel like you are there. It has enough science fiction to be interesting, but not too much so that it's overwhelming. It is definitely a book that I think your high school nephew would love to read. My next book recommendation is for your grouchy boss. You know your boss that is always grouchy, you can't seem to do anything right with them, but you feel obligated to buy them a present. They should read A Man Called Uva, I believe is the correct pronunciation. I tend to call it Ove in my head because that's how it looks like it should be spelled in the English language. However you want to pronounce it, this book is an amazing story about a man who is struggling with depression after the loss of his wife and ends up finding unexpected joy through his neighbors. It is so funny seeing this crotchety old man dealing with people that he finds to be extremely annoying. It is laugh out loud funny and one that will brighten anyone's day, and your grouchy boss is sure to love it, even though he will never admit that he did. My final recommendation for the day is for your employee. Your employee works hard all year for you, and I have the perfect recommendation for what you should give to them. It's money. That's the reason your employee works for you. They want money. You should give them more money for the holidays this year, and then they can buy whatever books that they want to read. So that concludes my list of books for everyone in your life. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. I hope that you take some time today to read yourself a good book or two. And if you are having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.